Mic's in the way here. Gone back to the original mic. Better quality. What are we on? 25 main section. Learn and react on Scrimba. Now I have already done the majority of this work on my own build, as I previously explained on the last video. I might learn how to talk one day. So let's watch how Bob did it on Scrimba. Let's get my name off. Where you go, Bob.
Okay, let's work on this main section here. I do want you to skip two aspects of the design right now. We're not going to worry about changing the colors of these bullets, and we're not going to worry yet about adding this logo over here to the right. Everything else, though, is fair game for this exercise, so pause the screencast and work on this task.
Just FYI, I'll run through this quickly, and then I'll show you how I did it on my local build. Again, I'm not doing it all over again, but I am intrigued to find out how he did that background image. He says he's doing that on the next one. Oh well. Speed him up.
All right, let's go ahead and make this into a main element. This is another semantic HTML element, and it represents the main section of our app here. So we will call it that. And it looks like it really only has two elements in it. It's got this H1 and an unordered list with 5 list items. So that should be relatively straightforward. And it says fun facts about React. We have our unordered list. And I'm going to hit Option Shift down to create copies of those, so I don't have to type them out manually every time.
Option Shift down. That's how he does it. Option Shift down. Right. I've got Emmett working on my own build, which is a better way to work than this, but that's good to know. I'll write that down.
And then I will actually go ahead and just copy and paste the text from the Figma file, so you don't need to sit and watch me do that. All right, let me move this over just a tiny bit. And let's hit refresh. Okay, that's a good start. Let's get some of the design aspects going here. I've got my main element, and I think I feel okay styling that as the main element because I will probably only have one. Well, I know that I'll only have one. And we will give it a background color, which we can go ahead and grab from the Figma file. Okay, and well, this highlights some issues here. Now, I haven't set up my body or my main element to be a full height, and it looks like maybe with a collapsing margin, I'm guessing this H1 has a margin on top, which is causing this whole section to collapse down below. So let's give, first of all, the main section a height of, let's try 100%. Now, sometimes that doesn't work. Maybe if I give my body a height of 100 view height, and we refresh this. Well, okay, you know what? I think this is highlighting another problem that I was planning on addressing later. So for now, what I'm going to do is actually move this background color to the body so that it does cover everything.
I had the same problems.
Okay, and that'll be a good enough start. We'll fix this a little bit later, but it did highlight the fact that what we had here is our main section is not taking up the entire body here. In a couple of screencasts from now, we'll see why that's a problem, but for now, I'm just going to put my background color on the body. Okay, and I probably actually don't need this height of 100% right now. We'll come back to that later. Oh, however, I do want to give it some padding, and it looks like from the design I have about 55 pixels. It says 57. We'll just go ahead with 57 on the top and bottom, and then about 27 pixels on the left and right. And well, you know what? I think that margin, this looks a little too much. I'm going to guess that the margin of my H1 here is a little bit high. Let me just check that. If I set this to margin 0, yeah, that normalizes it a little bit more. So instead of selecting all H1s, let's go here and give this a class name. And similar to the last one, I'll say this is the main block, and it's the title element. And that way I can be a little more specific about which H1 I want. And again, I need to refresh this in order for that class name to apply. And awesome. Okay, the sizing is looking good. Let's get our color correct. Now our H1 here also has a font size of about 39 pixels, and everything else needs to be white. Maybe I'll just color the entire section here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, awesome. Well, now that I have removed the margin from my title, it looks like my unordered list is bumping a little bit close to my title. Rather than giving my title a margin bottom to push it down, I personally prefer to have elements push themselves away from other elements, if that makes any sense. And when I see this, I think of the unordered list as being too close to the H1 as opposed to the other way around. That might not make any sense. That's just how my mind is working. I'm going to give my unordered list a class name. Let's say this is main dash dash, we'll say facts. And we will select our main facts, and I'll give it a margin top of, it looks like the design says 46 pixels. Okay, now actually I just looked at the Figma file and noticed that our title actually has a slight change to the letter spacing. So I'm just going to copy and paste that here, and yeah, that compresses our H1 a little bit, actually quite a bit. So we will go ahead and leave that there. Sometimes these rules like this are really easy to overlook if you aren't looking closely in the Figma design. Something that's really nice is I can actually just copy all of the rules if I need to and paste them here, and then I can decide which ones are actually making a difference or are necessary. Now, I already have that one. I can just comment these out. This one's technically making a slight difference. I'm not terribly worried about it. The font size, we already specified. Font weight of bold is already the default, font style of normal, and so forth. I can get rid of some of these as well. But we can see this one actually did make quite a bit of a difference, so it's good that we put it in there. Okay, now these are really close together, so I'm going to select all of the list items under main facts. I'm doing this just so I don't have to give a class name to every single LI or give the same class name to every single list item there. And actually, let's go ahead and do the same thing I did before. I'm just going to copy some of these font styles that we have inside of Figma and see if any of them made a difference. I don't need that. That's not making a difference. That's already the default. That's already the default. That makes a tiny difference. Maybe I'll leave it in there. It did separate them a little bit. I'm guessing, however, I'm going to have to apply some padding to these. So let's give a little bit of padding. There's a relatively new CSS property called padding block that allows me to only specify the padding on the top and bottom in one go. Let's start with 10 pixels and see how that looks. And yeah, that looks fairly accurate. Another thing I'm however, I'm going to have to apply some padding to these. So let's give a little bit of padding. There's a relatively new CSS property called padding block that allows me to only specify the padding on the top and bottom in one go. Let's start with 10 pixels and see how that looks. And yeah, that looks fairly accurate. Another thing I'm noticing is that the text is actually wrapping around here and mine is not. It's going all the way to the right. This probably isn't much of a problem. If I did want to fix that, I could probably just apply a max width on my list items. That way it's not taking up the entire left to right, maybe something like 400 pixels. And yeah, that seems to wrap it a little bit. And awesome, this is a great start. We're only missing two minor things. We're going to change these colors of these bullets to be the same color as our logo up here. And we're also going to add this little React logo over here to the right. However, both of these have a little bit of a gotcha to them, so I thought it could be good to do them each as a separate assignment, and that is what we're going to cover next.